All right, guys, we're live for our 13th episode of Keeping It Real Masterminds. The subject today is convert more home valuation leads into listings. Great topic. Somebody had mentioned that either Harrelson or Bill Jenkins, like, hey, so many people have these home valuation leads tools out there. You should do a hangout on that. And the first person I thought of is our special guest, Buddy Blake. So I'm going to formally introduce him next, once I take care of a few housekeeping things. So for those of you that don't know who I am, I'm Jeff Manson. I'm a Hawaii real estate broker and founder of Real Geeks, and my co-host is Frank Klesitz. He's the CEO of Vyral Marketing, and I want to give a congratulations to him and Katie. They've had their first child just, what, 2 days ago?
Yep, just he's about two days old.
Awesome. So he just had his first baby, and he's glowing. Look at him. He's glowing like the full moon. Anyway, never mind. I get a little crazy here. The baby's name is Michael Scott Klesitz, correct?
Michael Scott Klesitz, after my father's name and her father's name.
Awesome. So congratulations to Scott and Katie. We're really happy for them. I'm excited. I got 10 kids, so anyway, I'm excited for them. It's the most amazing thing in the world, having kids. Anyhow, I want to cover a few things. For those of you that did not get an email and you're just viewing this from some other source, if you want to get notified when we do these Keeping It Real Masterminds, you need to go to keepingitreal.com, and on the right side, there's an opt-in form. You only need to put in your first name and email. So we're not going to spam you. You're only going to get notifications of these Keeping It Reals, okay? You can follow Real Geeks Google Plus page because we post them on there. You can follow the Real Geeks Facebook page. We post them on there. And you can subscribe to the Real Geeks YouTube channel. If you're watching this on YouTube, just subscribe, and I think you'll get notified if you're a subscriber.
Yeah,
don't you? Mm-hmm. All right. So there's one other thing. We were at NAR and had a booth, and there was a lot of people that came by, and they registered to win a one-year IDX website, home valuation tool, and PPC management. And we had sent out an email letting them know that we were going to announce the winner on this show. And we did the drawing yesterday, and the lucky winner is April Gail Gossman, and she's from St. Petersburg, Florida. So April, I will personally be reaching out to you, scheduling a call, going over what you won and how to proceed. And I will also, once we get going and you got some leads coming in, I'm going to do a personal webinar with you and your team, if you got a team or whatever. I think you may be a broker, and I will go through and train you guys how to use this system effectively so you can get convert more leads, okay?
So round of applause for April.
Yay, April! Woo!
Didn't work.
All right.
I'm trying to click the round of applause. It's not working on Google Hangouts. Sorry.
There it is. All right. Enough of that silly business. And one other thing is I wanted to announce that Vyral Marketing is offering, I don't know for how long, but so if you watch this 2-3 months down the road, they may not be offering it, but right now they're offering a free trial of their services, sending out their database. Right, Frank?
Yeah, just very simple. Just getting a direct offer out to your list about getting a free home valuation. All the details are on the site.
All right,
so perfect. Let's get into it. I'm excited to hear some good stuff.
All right. So, like I said, I'm really excited to get Buddy Blake on here. He's from southeast coastal area of North Carolina, right, Buddy?
Yes, right, about an hour north of Myrtle Beach.
Can you name some areas that you work, just so they know?
Wilmington, Topsail Beach, Wrightsville Beach, Carolina Beach, and Curie Beach.
All right, so there's some of the main areas he works. So if you find value of this and him taking his time, he's not getting anything for sharing. He's a nice guy. Send him some referrals. He's an active real estate agent. He's been in the business for 19 years. He owns 5 RE/MAX offices. He has his own personal team, and his own personal team are on track to sell right around 320 sales this year. Is that right, Buddy?
It is somewhere in that range, if we can get them all to close by the end of the year.
All right, awesome, and that's phenomenal. And then he also owns Guaranteed Sale, which is a home valuation portal, and he also owns Free House Values. So that's why when we were going to do this, I'm like, I know the guy. Buddy's been doing this for a couple years. How long have you been working these home valuation sites and leads?
Guaranteed Sale we started about 3 years ago.
Okay.
So it was actually when you could just do forms. You really couldn't give them an instant valuation.
Right. Okay.
Right.
All right. And then it's progressed from there.
Right.
So he's got a lot of data, and he's going to share that. And like I said, I'm just really happy to be having Buddy on here. He is like one of the greatest and nicest guys that I've met, and he really, and I've heard this from just not me knowing him, but I've heard it from lots of agents telling me, oh my God, Buddy's so great, he's so helpful. So I just know that he really likes helping agents, and he really likes helping his real estate customers. So let's dive right into it. We wanted, for those of you that don't know what a home valuation tool is, hey Frank, can you pull up that demo, and we'll go over what a home valuation tool is. So it's a landing page portal connected on your website. This is actually a Real Geeks one. It's actually part of the website if you have it enabled. But what the consumer can do is they go in, they punch in their address, hit submit. As soon as that submit button is submitted, it captures their address. So you've got an address, okay? It shows, their property, what type it is, and then it says view property details and give valuation. I think Guaranteed Sale works almost identical to this.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we're very similar, Jeff, and we use the same data sets. I mean, I think you and I do a very similar, complete setup.
Yeah. So hey, bring that back up, Frank. What happened?
Come back. It's coming back. Hang on. There it is.
Frank's tired. He had a baby.
Yeah, he's tired. He's worn out. Where is it, Frank?
It's one of my old houses in Omaha, Nebraska.
Oh, no. Okay, I was saying, where is the tool? So scroll down and then hit that button.
Right here?
Verify property details, give valuation. Then it loads the valuation, but it covers it with a light box, and that's to get them to sign up. And then once they sign up, that creates the lead, okay? Can you fill out that box and just kind of see? Yeah, and it shows comps, but we cover the values. Like I said, Buddy's stuff works just like this. There's other similar ones. It's not a commercial. We're doing a demo because this is what we're talking about.
What are you interested in? I need to sell ASAP.
Hey, that's the ultimate goal. Boom, and then bam, they've got the price, the valuation range, and stuff like that.
That's actually that's right on the money.
Is that right on the money?
Yeah.
All right, yay. Yay, the data point got it. But it's not always accurate, and Buddy's going to go into that later, how important that is. And when it's not accurate, it's actually a blessing because it's a bigger opportunity. So let's go in and get going here. So Buddy, what are some of the best ways of driving traffic to a home valuation tool like Guaranteed Sale or Free House Values or whatever other one an agent might have?
Well, I think the best thing always, as anything, and the most, quite honestly, cost efficient, is to hammer your own people that already know you, like your people who, especially the people that bought and sold 10 years ago, 12 years ago, and things like that are in your database, because you don't have to tell them who you are, and your open rates are going to be better. And that's what we use Frank for. I mean, Frank just hammers them with fantastic messages. You're serving them. You're serving them with information that they want to know, and but that's your number one. That's going to be your number one conversion right there, period. Because they already know you, and you kind of know their timeline. And then the other one, the number two that we think is AdWords, because you and I both know, Jeff, in the world of going after buyers right now. I mean, it can cost you anywhere from $15 to $35 a lead. Because Craigslist has changed their deal, and all the other platforms that are out there have decided to go non-exclusive. Everybody's doing AdWords. But with sellers, the interesting thing is you can unlike buyers where you're looking for somebody from all over the world to move to Hawaii or Wilmington or whatever. Sellers, you can focus in on just the zip codes you cover. So number one is you're hyper-focusing your target. But you can also, you're not bidding on Wilmington, NC real estate. You're bidding on value, house values. And quite honestly, some of the best keywords is Zillow, Trulia, and we just piggyback on those words. And and you can get those for $150, $250 per lead.
Per lead. So that's per lead. So you're gonna the cost per click. I just want people to understand it. So the cost per click is less because you're going to drive so many, and only a certain percentage are actually going to complete that.
Yeah, I mean, you could spend, you could spend 10 in most markets. Like for instance, we're handling it for a few people. We do a little bit of pay-per-see management. That's not my forte. I just do it to help a few of my friends out. And I'm not as good as you guys because y'all are the pros. But $20 a day in Delray Beach, Florida, for example, will generate about 200 leads a month. Okay. So I mean, and it goes around, and so
That's
it
incredible.
is the easiest. It is the the lowest hanging fruit is what Frank does. Obviously, getting, or however you do it, getting in touch with the people you know. The next low hanging fruit, and then of course, here's the deal: the easiest crack cocaine that everybody, you get all these emails, you see everybody out there doing, is Facebook. Yeah, you want to do it, but let's think about the logic of Facebook. You can generate more leads, but it's a different lead because those people, you're just showing up on their timeline because you're tied in with their area. They're not looking for houses. They're not looking to sell. They're just curious to what you're doing. So you go from somebody you know to somebody that actually is focusing on some seller term, then to somebody just seeing a basic billboard while they're scrolling through Facebook. I think that's kind of the hierarchy of it.
Okay, so I just want to recap on some of that. So the Facebook ads, if I'm hearing what you're saying, the user intent, they're cruising Facebook and they get curious, and the intent was not necessarily to get a home value, but if you're doing Google AdWords and it's highly targeted keyword they're coming in, and you're focusing the neighborhood, their zip code where they actually live, and they go type that in, their intent is to get a home value.
And we're getting about a 15 to 20% more full sign up on AdWords than we do on Facebook.
Because they're seeking it out. Google fulfills demand. You know?
Right, they're seeking it. I mean, they're looking for it.
Yeah. It goes back to the user intent when you're driving traffic, whether it's to your property search or home value. If you're getting traffic from Facebook or something like that, and their intent was not really to do that action, the conversion rate's going to be lower. It just makes sense.
Well, here's the deal. You can get more leads, like, you know, and I don't blast anybody, because there's every system, I believe, works if you use it. But there's a ton of these valuation sites out there, and they say, oh, well, you can spend $200 and you get 500 leads. Yeah, you can do that, but that's not, that's just doing boost through Facebook and doing that. And then I will tell you the attrition rate. The first time you do it, you're going to get a lot of leads, and then as you do it, it decreases significantly.
Sure. And it just comes here's one thing too, because if you're getting more high targeted leads, less leads but high targeted, you don't have to make as many calls. And and I know a lot of agents don't like making the calls. It's hard enough to get them to. So
they don't like it, they won't do it.
Right.
But I got a question for you. Is there any resources you can give our viewers on any free resources on how to run a Facebook ad? Because I believe one of the selects on Facebook is people who are actually thinking about selling their homes. They have an option. You can run those ads to people in a certain zip code.
Well, not only that. Well, first off, retargeting is one of your better ones. Okay, so if they're already, for instance, if you set to do the pixel code on, for instance, Jeff, on all your websites, your customers thing, put that in there so that you could retarget. So everybody that goes to buddyblake.com, they're looking at real estate, they're going to get in their timeline my free house values ad. Okay, so you can use retargeting in Facebook.
Sure.
Now the next thing they just launched, if you use the Power Editor, I don't know if you knew this, literally 2 weeks ago, you can now drill down in Facebook, doing ads, not boosts, where you can do it by zip code and by homeowner versus renter or anything.
Oh, homeowner versus, that's great.
Yeah, they just started that, but you can only do that through the Power Editor through Chrome. If you use, you know what I'm talking about? You got to use Chrome with Facebook to do that.
Yeah, this can get really technical if we're not too careful. Let me go back.
Well, I'm just saying you can zoom down on your right target now, but still the intent. I think remarketing is the best use of Facebook right now.
Yeah.
Because they're already on real estate websites. I've tried to embed it on Zillow on my profile, but it won't work.
Mm-hmm. All right, hey, I got one other question. You said for $20 a day in that one marketing, you get 20 leads. Now, is that 20 signups or 20 leads, including capturing the property address and the actual signups?
No, we consider those the same. I think they're just as valuable, to be honest with you. Okay. I don't distinguish between the two, other than you can't make the phone call. But you're going to get, for $20, you're going to get 8 to 10 in Delray Beach. Now, San Diego, it's about $5 a pop. But in Delray Beach right now, it's about $2. You're going to get 8 to 10 leads, okay? Conversion cost. I ain't talking about click cost, Jeff. I'm talking about conversion.
Yeah, so it's either a capture of address only, or they went all the way through and put in their information.
And it's about 50-50. Half the people will give you their indirect. Now, we also started doing Facebook login, and we're getting almost nobody doing Facebook login. So, I mean, they're not
going to log in with Facebook. I mean,
not only that, but you can't get their phone number unless they have went in and authorized their phone number to be given. So we're going to take that off because we're getting no traction with it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good to know. What are some of the mistakes agents make when they're doing these things? You know, doing the home valuation tools.
Well, I think the only thing that's in common with treating a seller lead, a valuation lead, and a buyer lead is timing. You got to immediately respond while they're thinking about it. Okay, so that's the only thing in common. Then the biggest mistake is they quit. They stab and go. They make 1 call, 2 calls, 3 calls, and then maybe they throw them in a drip campaign. But you and I both know that email deliverability is getting extremely difficult with GoDaddies and people like that. So you're hoping and trusting, but they're not doing. I mean, they're quitting too easy, and they're looking at it. Their conversion expectation is 2 weeks. Okay, like a buyer, you know, I mean, it's just in the old days, a buyer calls you up, I want to buy a house, I'm looking for a house. They come in town in 2 weeks to 3 weeks, and they buy a house. Well, with a seller, number one is a lot of them are listed, so they got 6 months to wait out a listing agreement. Number two is they might, like right now, it's huge the number of people looking, the traffic. They're looking after the first of the year. So you got to set it up. The sweet spot for us that we found on my team now, this is my team, because we work in it, we use these tools, 7 months to 12 months is the optimal, is the best conversion point after the first 30 days. Does that make sense? It goes 30 days, and then it kind of goes down, levels out, and then it starts growing, whereas a buyer lead, it's 30 days, and then it just drops.
Right.
But you've got, here's the best tip I think I can, all the antics in the world, if you will treat every seller lead, whether you get their phone number or not, like a SOI past customer, you will win that game. They need to be treated just like a sphere of influence.
Okay, so what you're saying is if you just get the address only, however you're working your center of influence, or your sphere of influence, you work them the same way.
Yeah, some people use the Buffini where you send it out. We use Service for Life, which is archaic, but it works. You stay in contact, and when they're ready, when somebody dies, somebody has a baby, Frank needs a bigger house, whoever stays in touch. It's just like expireds, Jeff. You cut your teeth on expireds.
Yeah.
Most people quit in 3 or 4 times, but it took 7, 8 months a lot of times.
Oh yeah, you got to just keep.
Yeah. So all of our systems, drips, postcard, and everything are set up for 5 yees.
5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
All right, and then you're saying email. So you said it wasn't as effective, but you do put them in an email campaign?
We do. Our systems automatically every 30 days sends them an email that says, hey, your value's changed, check it again, click here, blah, 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 just like everybody does. Then we have a series of postcards, 60 postcards we have physical postcards that they send out. Well, some send out, the good ones. And what they are, instead of, hey, it's me, I'm great, it's seller tips. You know, make sure you get your home inspected, whatever it is. We've had them graphically done. We also have an HTML where they can drop them in to Frank or whoever they use, or like Real Geeks, they can drop it through HTML. We host it. I mean, you just drop it in, but you're giving them something other than, hey, just call me. You're giving them service. And the interesting thing is, I've never had buyers in a database send me referrals. You can get these seller leads to send you referrals if you stay in touch with them, even if you never list their home.
So when you're doing that, are you also calling them on a regular basis? You know?
Yeah, we do. We start off. We call them until we contact them. We call twice a day until something happens. Okay. Until we can define what they are, what they are not, and then from then on, then from their situation, we determine is it a monthly call, is it a quarterly call, is it a, you know what I'm saying?
Based on the data you get from them and the information, then you say, okay, I'm going to call this person is called 30 days or 90 days.
Based on the old-fashioned skill of listening to what they want.
Yeah, exactly. And do you have a script or something that when you guys first call that you could share, or you found that it's working for agents that you're working with? And
yeah, actually, it's interesting because we use the value. We don't ever give an exact value because we found that if we give a range, and I think you do too, we give a high and a low range, and we skew it a little bit so it's a little bit higher and lower as the market's changing. Because if we give an exact range, an exact AVM that comes out of SmartZip or CoreLogic or whatever, you can never get them off that number. So what we do, our first call is, hey Jeff, this is Buddy. Listen, thanks for stopping by. You know, Real Geeks and checking out your house value. I want to let you know that information comes from public data. So I will be happy to send you the same information that an appraiser would use in case you want to refinance, sell, buy, or whatever you want to do. It's a serving call, and then the worse the range, the better the opportunity because they're already mad and they want to yell at you, and you diffuse them immediately when you call and say, Jeff, man, I got to tell you something. That was horrible. That system sucks. Blame it on the system, but just keep in mind it's coming from tax data. And nobody in the United States thinks their tax value is correct anyway, so they understand that.
So you play on that.
And I'll show you this, and I'll share this. This will come out in the first quarter. I'm not selling it. It's a giveaway. We actually, and I'll give it to any customer once we get it. It's an engagement book because what we found is, basically a log and everything, scripts, dialogues, purely for sellers. But it's a journal that all the agents have to follow, you know what I'm saying, with accountability and whatnot. And it's quickly to tell. We can tell if somebody says, oh, these leads suck, blah, blah, blah. I say, send me your journal. And they made no phone calls. They made no note cards. They sent no postcards. They sent no emails. They sent no video emails. They didn't go buy the house. I mean, if it's a nice enough house, we drop off a kid at their house.
Sure. So basically you find out if they're not journaling, doing all these things, you're just finding out that their work ethic and their sales skills kind of suck.
Well, that's pretty much, yeah.
Or
what's that?
Or they don't know what to send. I mean, do you have any? You mentioned before 60 postcards, buddy.
We have 60. We have
every lead that goes.
There's 60 postcards.
It's incredible. Do you have some examples you can show us?
Huh?
Do you have any examples laying around you can show us to the camera?
You know what? I don't, but I tell you what I can do is I can see if I can show you. We actually use them in our books. For instance, Make It Sparkle. I don't know if you can. Can you see the bottom part of that? That's one of the postcards. Here's another one of the postcards. Let's see if I got any more. And Frank, here you go. Apply a fresh coat of paint. You know, one of them's get rid of the dog. One of them's get out of the house when you got a showing. And actually, we take it one step further, Frank. We use the same scripts in our radio spots. So, you know, basically serving people. But Frank, I'll be glad, and you too, I'll be glad to give y'all the PSD files, and y'all can do what you want.
Let's talk about that, because so far everyone's like, this is a lot of great stuff. So I just want to step back really quick, Jeff. Guys,
go for it.
Just so you know, in the comments on the main page here, a while back I did some internal team trainings here at Vyral on actually how to run a good Facebook ad using to drive traffic to your free value report. I put a link to that internal training in our company on the page. On top of that, I also did team training on ad roll, which is great for retargeting that Buddy talked about. All right, I have a link to our team training there. Feel free to watch that. But more importantly is if you Google magical seller lead generation email, that's my title, Google magical seller lead generation email, it should be the first one or two options on Google. I put a link down to it. You can see the copywriting of what I would recommend you send out to your entire database, your buyer leads, seller leads, past clients. If you round them all up, send them this plain text message, and it will drive a ton of people back to the home value report. And the best time to send that, buddy, is what, between Christmas and New Year's?
Well, right now I wouldn't send anything because you're getting mixed in with all the junk that's being out there. But between Christmas and New Year's, we found that there's a lot of people on brand new computers, they're tired of their family being in town, or they may, you know, I mean, let's face it. I mean, we're all that way. We love our families, but you get tired of it. You're done. So, and they're off work. They ain't got nothing else to do. There's nothing on TV worth a darn. So they're, you know, they go on and they're starting to think about what's going to happen after the first of the year.
Okay.
So that is
a training. Great. So I gave everyone an example on Facebook ads. I gave them an example on retargeting or remarketing with AdRoll. It's up in the comments. I gave them an example of an email to go to their database to drive traffic. One more thing you mentioned was AdWords and that hyper-local targeting. Is there any training out there, any videos on YouTube that people can go that you'd recommend?
I've got some that I can share with you. I'll send to you that we suggest. And, you know, you can hire somebody to do it for, you know, $150 a month to $1,000 a month. But I tell you what I did, and this is really simplified. And Jeff's a smarter guy than me on this. There's a guy named, you ever heard of Rich Bruns? For $99, you buy his guide to AdWords. He used to be a huge engineer at Intel. He hates Google, and his theory is don't use any of their automated conversion techniques. And he sells his book and 1 hour of coaching for $99.
So that would be a good example for someone to go to for the AdWords training, right?
Absolutely, and you can do it yourself. It's easy, and I'll give them the keywords. Because here's the deal, as we all know, I can give up. You can give your competition your book of business, and they won't do it anyway.
Give us the top 5 keywords, buddy, right now. What are the best keywords you would think that agents should own if they're running a pay-per-click campaign?
House values, home values, Zillow values, Trulia values, my house value.
And then you would target that to that zip code or that area.
Yeah. Well,
so
not just that.
People in the area see it.
You got to use the broad. You got to use the precise. You got to play. You know, there's a technique you play with it. To, you know, so.
But if you gave an expert and you ran with that, you get pretty good results. And then you mentioned we can also get the I'm putting you on the spot, but you're cool with the PSDs.
I'll send you a Dropbox link to all the PSD files, and I've already got the HTML files, and I've got them on a server, so you can pull the images. You don't have to do nothing but drop it in, and they can put their own branding in it.
All right, before everyone emails me, I'll make sure I get that posted in the comments as the PSDs and the HTML link from Buddy.
Now, Jeff, if you want to, you can keep the Free House Values logo on there. I'm okay with that.
Well, we got a lot of questions. Let me go to a couple questions really quickly. First off, I know you're very strong about this question. Okay, is the inside sales agent making those calls?
No, we went the inside sales route. Inside sales is fine on the mass number of buyer calls, but what we found, quite honestly, and everybody's got different arguments. The person that's going to list the house, that is the expert, needs to take that call, because when that seller calls, they want to talk to the person that is going to be listing it, not some telemarketing person that says, I got to get back with you with that. They want to talk to someone that says, you know, I sold the house down the street. Oh, yeah, Porter's Neck. Yeah, you got to talk about this. Let me tell you the rejections we had. And you can't substitute knowledge and experience for that. So that is the biggest mistake that I see.
So you didn't have very good results putting an unlicensed person on those calls, basically.
No, we did with buyers. We would cultivate stuff, but at the end of it, with sellers, I would never. Seller leads are the most valuable asset in your business, other than your sphere of influence. And to trust them with the least paid employee in your operation makes no sense.
I would agree 100%.
I'll leave it with that. That's a great quote. Let me get to one more here. Back earlier, we were talking about just capturing lead after we showed all the examples of traffic. What do you do? Maybe I didn't catch this. Maybe we talked about it. What do you do if there's no email or no phone or lack of information? What do we do if there's just very minimal information?
Address only, and they didn't fill it out.
Yeah.
You want me? What we do is we use these seller books. Again, we got these templates. We say I'll give you the source to the lady that does them. She makes them for people all over the country, and she drops them in, and she does them, and they're really inexpensive. They're about $1.50 a piece. We drop this in the mail, Frank and Jeff, to every single lead when they come in, whether they got a phone number or not. We simply look up where they get their tax bill, because much like Hawaii, we're in an area where we have a lot of out-of-town owners. because they have rental property, second homes. So sending it to the house doesn't do any good. So we look it up in the tax records, and it takes 5 minutes. And then we send these books out, and we send a handwritten note with it, and then we put them on our postcard campaign until they come back, and eventually they'll keep coming back, and they'll give you their stuff if they're interested.
And how do you mail those books? Just the book the way they are, or you put them in like a little thing like this that comes out?
We put them in a white. We have a little white. I don't have one here. I should have been more prepared. Quite honestly, it's a simple stationery. We're Remax. It's a Remax book that says, "Here's the information you're requesting."
Rough cost on those with how many you buy?
These are about $1.50. It costs us about $1.80 a pop to mail them. So you figure $3-4 a pop.
Okay.
Hey, buddy, I got one other thing. On the non-address or just the address-only ones, you still make every attempt to try and get the owner's phone number as well, too, right?
Yeah, we use. I mean, we use some of the own Spokio and some of that, but we actually, and I'll tell you, Jeff, we tried to use, and there's a lot of people out there touting that they've got augmented data. We went that route, and it was horrible. It was a horrible experience, and it was not good. So, and I'm not saying it's not possible. By IP address, Frank, is what we're talking about.
Yeah, let's go back to augmented data. That means the lead comes in, and before it gets to the agent, they're going to sites like LexisNexis or ChoicePoint and those big companies that aggregate that data and try to find, okay, what phone numbers match this, and they augment the phone number for you from a public record search when you get it.
Right.
Yeah. Now you can go to, if you're a Vulcan. I will say this: Vulcan 7 does a pretty good job, but they don't have an API for it. They will, if you're a customer, you can send them your CSV file with the information, and I think it's 50 cents a name if they retrieve a phone number and an email too. Now they will get it back to you, but it's you have to do that on your own. I've done it once or twice, but I still found the phone numbers were only about 30 or 40% real. But the funny thing is, even if you call those people and you're good on the phone, you might pick up some business that way.
Yeah, I mean, there's always an opportunity.
Anything else we can add on incomplete data?
Your goal is to keep sending them stuff until you just keep filling in the blanks, Frank. Sometimes you can't get all the information the first time.
So let me ask you a question real quick. You're sending these postcards. What's the frequency that you're sending out the postcard campaign to these leads?
Once a month, and unfortunately, I don't have an automated way to do it. We do it literally with the accordion method. Like, for instance, this sounds archaic.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, here's the deal. Lead comes in. Lead comes in. We print out a sheet of 30 or 60 labels, and we pop them on them, and we got 2 accordions, January, February, and we grab all the February, put a stamp on it, and send them out.
So how many postcards, Dan asks, how many postcards would you say it takes to get a response? So this lead comes in, no information, you just got the address, right?
I don't know postcard count, but 7 to 12 months is the sweet spot when a combined effort.
7 to 12 months, Dan. Okay.
Yeah, so I mean, and people quit. People always quit too early, always, and then they say it don't work. No, they didn't work.
Yeah, I was going to say they don't work.
Right. Yeah, I mean, let's face it. The marketing. I mean, Frank. Here's the deal, Frank. If you send an email, Jeff, if you generate a lead to a realtor, or we generate a lead to a realtor, Frank, you generate a response from one of the emails, or just even an open. You've done your job. The rest of it's up to the agent and their skill set, their training, and theirs. They can't blame you if you delivered the lead and the opportunity. Now, if they want you to do all the work for them, they're going to have to pay you more money. I mean, that's all there is to it.
Well, here's the deal. Samuel Dodd asked the question, is there a way to put the postcards into a system and have them automatically drip? I'm in the internet marketing world. I don't have any examples of that working other than giving you a fulfillment list. But I've heard of a sendpepper.com might do that. Have you heard of Sendpepper?
I've not. I'll tell you what we did do, but the problem is it's such a one-to-one thing. You might have 3 today, 4 today. What we have done, I haven't done it in a while, we would take a month, and because Quantum, you can do a drip postcard campaign with Quantum Mail, Quantum Direct, but the problem is they don't have an API where you can send one up, so you can upload a CSV file, and then it'll start dripping them. So
you can't do them one at a time where these 3 came in that day and these 5 came in the other day.
Yeah.
And I think if you wait a month, you're not. You need to get those things out to them right away because some of these people are ready to go right away.
Well, not only that, but this is the biggest. Well, people don't realize, Jeff, and I know you do because we've talked about it. Seller valuation leads is the biggest preemptive expired attack that's ever been on the earth.
That's a good way of thinking of it.
Because they're looking for another agent. They want to see what their house is worth. They're done with their agent. So whoever's calling them back and sending them stuff, let's face it, nobody's doing this stuff. I mean, there's very few agents. A lot of people will buy it, but very few agents do the follow-up.
Buddy, let's talk about cost, man. I mean, so you're spending what, $2 to $3 per lead to come in?
No, we're spending. I'm going to say this per seller lead. We're spending. Well, let's talk about all the costs. A lot of people don't like to talk
I want to go through the whole ROI of the process, if you could, for us, the best you can.
All right, we're spending. All right, whatever your platform cost is, and everybody's all over the board. I'm not going to get into people's platform costs, but if it costs you $2 to get them in the door, be it Facebook, be it whatever it is, all right, and then you spend $3 mailing them something, and then you spend another $1 a month. So you could have $10 to $15 into a conversion. Then if you get a 12%, we're getting about a 12% conversion in 18 months on a valid seller lead that we actually can get on
100 leads that come in, you get 12 seller appointments in how many months?
Within 18 months.
Within 18 months, you get
Yes.
That's the number everyone wants to know.
So you have to
exactly.
build up pipeline.
So now I will also say this, Frank. You're talking to a guy that is not the biggest statistician in the world, and so I'm not that good with it at all as far as conversion rates and all this, because we totally went away from, quote honestly, return on investment to return on relationships is what we're trying to focus our entire company on now.
What made that shift? Why don't you go a little deeper in that shift for us?
Well, I'll tell you what made that shift. I'm fortunate. I don't own it. I serve 5 RE/MAX franchises. We got about 73 agents, and I'm watching. I got agents that don't have assistants, don't have anything, that are doing $500,000 and $600,000 a year, not spending one penny other than sphere of influence, Senator Buffini, and things like that. Okay, but they're working with their relationships. And then here I am. I went down the road for many years. Quite honestly, I bought my way to the top. Our biggest year we did about $110 million in sales. But I can assure you it wasn't near the profit range that one agent is, because I was building a transactional business and not a relational business. That's the difference. So what changed is, and you will find this out, Frank, having kids probably changed my mindset more than anything, because I do not want to continually have to churn out hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of leads and have 25 buyer agents working for me to make a living. Did that answer the question?
Well, I remember at a mastermind a few years ago, you read Gary Vaynerchuk's book and changed your life. Was that it?
Well, I think that was it. I tell you, the best book I've ever read in my life, and nobody will read it, The Cult of the Customer by Shep Hyken. That right there is probably the best book I've ever read in my life about sales, customers, and everything else. It's because most of us, let's face it, most of us buy websites and systems based on what we want it to do. We don't pay any attention to what the customer wants.
And I think that's really the biggest shift of what we're really seeing here, is that you're coming this process with lots of love over a long period of time.
I'm coming full circle because, I'd rather be that, and listen, I'd rather be an agent making $500,000 a year, spending $30,000 a year in marketing, than somebody making $2 million a year, spending $700,000 a year. Do you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because
we got some. Good. Well, I got some more questions. I got some more questions here on the right. If anyone has any questions that we can go deeper on, I know I gave some examples in the comments of driving pay-per-click. What was the name of the individual, buddy? One more time to get the AdWords. Who you recommend to learn more about AdWords? It's
richbruns.com.
Okay. And then you're going to give us the link to the seller. Who's the seller book vendor?
I'm going to have to email that to you. Her name is Angie Israel. She just started. She's been in outdoor marketing forever and a bunch of stuff. She opened her own firm, and I'll send it to you.
I'll post her stuff up in the comments and get her lots of business. And then finally, you'll send me a link to the PSDs for the postcards.
I'll send you the PSDs, and I'll send you the HTMLs, too.
Wonderful. Okay. If anyone has
if you want them, Jeff, you can have them, too, and y'all can make them. And I don't care, because here's the deal. Awesome. Only a few people are going to use them.
So let's talk about past clients. We have a question from Anna about how often do you send stuff to past clients? So you're emailing and communicating and at least mailing your seller leads.
We do a Monday morning coffee email, but we're shifting after I've sent those graphs to y'all. Wednesday and Thursday is by far the biggest days that people are looking at houses. From our stats, from 26,000 leads that we track for 18 months. So we're going to shift it to a Wednesday email. We send a Wednesday email that has a feel-good message and kind of what's going on in town. It's not selling or anything. Now, physically, we send a newsletter. It's called serviceforlife.com. Remember old Craig Fort? He's been around forever. They send you all the content. You just literally do your own thing. You print it out and you send it out. It's black and white. It ain't sexy, but it's real.
So you send a weekly custom newsletter and a monthly mailer to how many people?
Well, we've got about 47,000 people in our database.
Oh my goodness. Hold on, let's just talk just past clients.
I'm sorry.
So you're emailing 47,000.
Yeah, email, everybody gets it. We've got about 4,800 past clients. But now keep in mind, we hadn't mailed anything to them in 10 years, Frank. We started 6 months ago, and probably 1/3 of them, the first mailing came back because they had already moved, died, or gone, and we lost opportunities. We quickly realized we had really screwed up by not staying in touch with them.
Good. Well, I'm all about the database.
Oh, no, I mean, it's about but you got to have a multi-pronged attack. You can't just rely on it. Electronic, you got to do. That's the cheapest. But you got to get something to them physical because nobody's doing it. And I'm going to tell you right now, I've come to the conclusion, I watch agents, the beauty of owning a brokerage is I kind of get to see what everybody's doing and how much money. We got agents that do nothing. They literally write 5 note cards a day to people they know, and they get better business than anybody. Because a note card, I think, is actually higher on the value tool than a phone call now. Because nobody answers their phones anymore, and it takes time to write a note card. Like, let me ask you, Frank, when somebody sends you a note card, not a send-out card and that crap, but when you get a note card, somebody sits there and actually writes it out, hey, I am so happy for you about your baby. Which one do you open first? Which means the most?
It's the handwritten note. Even being like a technology company, we still get referrals. We still send handwritten notes.
Yep. Yeah, I suck at it personally, and I got the app. There's an app for iPads called Felt, which I thought that was going to be my solution because you can just literally you write it in and it looks it's the real deal. It's not like I said send out card crap, but it costs $4 a pop to send it. But here's the deal: you can't scale that.
We had a question here. This is an interesting question. The gentleman doesn't know this will work in like a Manhattan, New York market. Do you have anyone that has success in like a high-end premium, like say Manhattan, doing this stuff? Do you know? What would you say to that? Because we got a couple questions here on that one.
Well, I'm gonna defer. I'll talk, but I'm gonna defer to Jeff because everything. I don't think he's ever sold a house under $1 million.
Yeah. Come on. I wish that was the case.
Well, how would you see that? I mean, buddy, you're in North Carolina. What about someone in high-end Hawaii or Manhattan or let's say in like Beverly Hills? Stuff like this even work?
Yeah, I think it does. What I suggest is farming. And number one, I mean, we're going back to farming. Pick neighborhoods, but you got to be careful. You got to go into a neighborhood where there's no agent that has more than 40% market share. That's an old Craig Proctor technique. Don't jump into a neighborhood where somebody controls it. And then use your valuation site, and we use microsites for it so that you show the neighborhood entrance or whatever, so before they ever even read a word, they realize it's that, and then it goes in, and then you're able to, they look up their house value, you segment your database, and I know you love that word, Frank, because if they come in, you put them over in, if it's landfall, you move them over into landfall. So then you communicate with them directly on landfall for the next forever. So yeah, we're actually starting to farm with postcards again. Now, we've been doing it for about 3 or 4 months. I'm not going to say we're getting a whole bunch of listings off of it, but we're building databases quickly of neighborhoods, individualized neighborhoods.
And that's what Greg Harrelson does on one of the previous calls when we got his marketing going, is that on all the prospecting calls when he gets emails, they would circle the neighborhood, or like in Myrtle Beach, it's condo buildings. So they have their entire database of buyers and sellers and past clients tagged. They have hundreds, if not thousands of tags by the actual area. So you can send a very specific message about that condo building out to those people, and that's probably what's going to get you in those very niche, high-end markets, I would think.
Well, I'll tell you somebody does a real good job, like in Tampa. Do you know Andrew Duncan? Yeah, you know Andrew.
One of ours.
Well, you know, he has a, kind of like you, he has a lot of folks that don't live in Tampa on the beach areas. Well, nobody's mailing the out-of-town owners. So if you farm them, nobody else is mailing them. So when they think about selling that beachfront house, they see the market's coming back, you send them some stats, and then you send them a house value. They're freaking up in New Jersey somewhere. They want to know what's going on because they're not there. You're a captive audience. You're the only guy in town hitting them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree whether you're doing email or home value or any kind of marketing, a high end. The people, just because they live in a more expensive home, they're still people, and they still want to know all the same things, and it's going to work. And you just got to cater to them. Yeah.
They're curious.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more question here. This is the last question here on the right, and feel free, everybody. We got a lot of people watching. Just ask a question here on the right, and I'll ask Buddy here or Jeff. Again, Dan asked another question. You know what your advertising cost is per signed client? Dan, obviously very analytical, wants to know what's going on here.
I don't.
That's right. So am I.
I wish I could. I wish I could tell you. I'll tell you what I do with my listing agent, and kind of the number I came up with about a year ago, and I don't know if it's accurate, was about $600. Because what I do with her split, for instance, off the top, $600 comes back to me to cover the cost of acquisition. Does that make sense?
Say that one more time.
All right. My listing partner, a flat $600, I calculated out. Now I do some radio too, so that's going to be a little bit more. But the acquisition cost for me is around $600 for a listing. Now I don't have it segmented out. A guaranteed sale versus a free house values or whatever. I'm talking about aggregately.
So you're spending $600 to get a listing.
Oh, I'll pay 25% referral to get a listing. I mean, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because guess what? The average is you get 9 buyer opportunities after every listing, and then we use an IVR, and then that's your best buyers.
You get additional sellers too from all the sign calls and the advertising on that, because if you're asking the right questions, and that's where a lot of people miss it, even on the buyer stuff. Sellers start out looking at properties, whether they're looking at a sign or a website where they've signed up and stuff. So you got to be asking the questions and making sure you're finding out if they're a homeowner and they got a property to sell. Because if they do, you need to sink your teeth into them and work them like Buddy's saying.
Well, you're right. We use writers. We use free house value writers or microsite writers. For instance, if it's a neighborhood called landfall, we'll call landfall values, drive them to a little to its own little value site, put it on the sign. So all the neighbors driving by, they're curious.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
We got 2 questions on CRM. Let's talk about that. How do you manage all this on the back end? Can you very clearly explain maybe how you segment your leads by your CRM? Like what CRM do you use where your leads go?
Well, I'm not going to get into what CRM I use because I don't think that would be. I've used about everything out there other than Infusionsoft because I can't figure out how in the world to do it. But what we use is on our main website, our buyer website, I call it, which is your one front-facing, like Real Geeks is a buyer website basically. I mean, now he's got a seller component. The first thing we do is we make sure every one of them go in there via API or whatever. We API with most CRMs or a number of them via email parsing or whatever. You got to do a few things. First off, you got to set up a drip campaign that's seller related, and you got to set them up for a saved search for their neighborhood, okay? So that they're getting houses coming on the market, price changes. Now in my market, we actually are able to use sold data, so it's kind of like a market snapshot, the top producer. So they're getting constant information. That's the safety net. Setting up a saved search for every single one of these leads that you got an email address on, that is your safety net if you don't do anything else whatsoever. Now, does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. I'll take that.
Now we are playing with Wise Agent right now, I will tell you, to just move seller leads to, because they got some pretty cool, like you guys do the best job with the mass emails, but one-to-one email, video email, we've had success with BombBomb, and Wise has got a deal where you can pull up Jeff's seller, hit a button, and send him a quick video message, and it says, hey Jeff, I noticed you were just on there, I just want to put a name with a face, hey, boom, and then you track it.
The best advice I can give for emails is if it's a blast email and it's like just
Right.
loading everyone in, send it through something like vertical response, which we use, which has great deliverability.
Absolutely.
But again, if you're using like just targeted drip emails, like when a lead comes in, that lead, ideally it goes right into a CRM that has the email drip functionality built in. Ideally,
Absolutely.
that's kind of like the Infusionsoft. If it doesn't, you got to have the API to push that information to something that has a drip, something like eye contact for $10 a month or whatever that may be.
Or even here's the deal. You got to use their name. You got to use their address. You got to make it look like this. And that's the other thing in the emails, Jeff. And you agree with this. All your follow-up emails, you got to have a system that'll auto-populate the address of the house they're looking for and say, we put lowercase R-E
in the subject line.
123 Elm Street.
In the subject line.
Yeah, in the subject line.
Yeah, the best. Let me say that again for everyone. When a seller lead comes in and you want to email them, the best subject line is regarding your address.
Right, not their name. Because everybody's got their name, but their address. Because they're always, how did you get my address? They're going to open that.
Yeah, that's a really good one key takeaway for everybody on the hang. I like that one.
All right. So are there more questions on there, Frank?
Got a couple more. I mean, we can keep going here.
Close to the end. So yeah, there's more questions.
Yeah. So, buddy, I like this one. This is a good question I like to ask everybody. If you had advice for a beginning agent, someone who just started in your office, on how to get more listing leads, and they're on a tight budget, what would you tell them?
Well, first off, I find those the most. I find those are the ones that will actually use the systems because they haven't went out and bought 9 systems and used none of them and don't think they know everything. I would say if it were me and I was starting out, number one is I'd get my sphere of influence going. Obviously, I'd hook up with somebody like yourself, Frank, that can get the electronic process going out. I would send my sphere of influence information about your house values and things like that. I would be on Facebook and AdWords. Right now, and I wouldn't even try to go after buyers. It's too expensive to go after buyers. I'd be going after, I'd be doing AdWords and Facebook.
Very targeted AdWords.
Very, very targeted AdWords.
In specific areas of competition.
If you get the listings, you will get the buyers. And then go to Hotline America for $19 a month and get an IVR system so that you can capture them when they call on your house.
Yeah, I know your free house values product is what, like nothing. I mean, if somebody needs the site,
we charge. I mean, I don't want to get into that because this is not a commercial. But I mean, we're a different animal, and it's not for everybody, but it's not expensive. I mean, but I would tell you this: it's real expensive if you don't use it.
Yeah, I would agree. The number one thing that Buddy and I find with helping other agents is they buy these tools and they don't either drive traffic to it to get the leads, but even the second worst thing is they'll pay and drive traffic to it, and then they don't follow up and call.
I got to tell you a story. I got to tell you a story. Guaranteed Sale is the most expensive value lead platform out there. We charge $595 a month, $695 a month, but you get an exclusive territory, and it's only for usually, and most of it's the rate members, those people, and because you get like a huge territory, you could get all of Chicago. We only let one agent. The people, but the funny thing is, the people that'll spend the money and use it will do extremely well with it. The people that won't will yell that it don't work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, they're not doing what it takes.
Yeah, I mean, if people would just use how much is Real Geeks? It is ridiculously how cheap your system is compared to most platforms. How much is that thing, Jeff?
It's $150 a month and $50 extra for the seller tool. So $200 a month, and it's got it's not a commercial, but the CRM, everything.
No, but I know I've got competition in my town that does extremely well organically. Here's the deal: yours and there's a few other that do organic very well that are very inexpensive. Mm-hmm. So now I will say this, and this is just a message I'm going to give to agents about. I don't care what system you use, what CRM, but do not. You can use them to get leads, but do not park and host your leads and your lead system on any system that your company provides for you. Because one day you're going to want to leave that company, and you're not going to get to take the leads with you, or when you leave, they're still going to have them. because that is a big thing in the brokerage world. And I've learned a lot about brokerage, whether I wanted to or not, in the last 5 years since I've done this. And why, I don't know I did it, but anyway. But the big thing that a lot of people teach you, I don't care what brand it is. They teach you, put it on our platform, put it on our platform, put it on our platform. Go get a Real Geek site. Go get Wise Agent. Go get a spreadsheet and keep up with your people. Do not depend on any large company that you work for, because you're an independent contractor, and one day you're going to either grow your business to the point where you don't like being there, or you just have a culture issue. You always have to be prepared to be mobile, and that is the biggest mistake that I see. We have people that come to us and their company won't release their database, and then what they do is they start taking that, and this is another subject, but I just want to give some hints out there to new agents. Then what they do is they recruit new agents, and say, I'm going to give you 1,000 leads. Well, guess whose 1,000 leads those were? So that's off topic, but it's just passionate to me.
No, and we really appreciate that, buddy, because you're an actual broker now, not just an agent, and you're not telling your agents to put their leads on your system. You're telling them, go get your own system, so that way if you ever leave, they're your leads.
No, exactly. I mean, obviously we're with Remax. I like Remax, certainly. They provide free websites. Take the leads from them, move them into your system. So they're coming back to your website, so that if you change companies, all you got to do is change your logo.
Yeah. Good advice.
Buddy, we got 5 more minutes. We got a few more questions. I really like this question from Carla. Buddy, off topic, but would you share any radio scripts? You mentioned that, some of the things that you said in your postcards you run on the radio. She's running an ad tomorrow. What would you say on the radio to drive people to a free house value site or a guaranteed sales site or a valuation site?
Well, God, I wish I would have prepared. I could have played you one. Basically, I'll tell you what we do. One of them is, let me see if I can remember one of them, because I just cut 3 new ones. One of them says, if you're thinking about moving, if you've got your house on the market, please, when you have a showing, get out of the house. Leave the house. There's no buyer on earth that wants to see it. Now, if you want to find out what your house will sell for in today's market, for top dollar, go to freehousevalues.com or guaranteedsale.com or jeffmanson.com, and that's it. I drive them to some type, and that's the reason why the national website Guaranteed Sale Free House Values for us seems to work better, because it seems like they trust it versus an individual agent's website. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So we're like, we certainly know Zillow, but we're like the baby Zillow. but I think those things, you got to drive them to somewhere that's memorable. You got to have a compelling call to action. Guaranteed sale. I mean, quite frankly, that has been the #1 call to action on radio forever. So now, we used to do guaranteed or we buy it. We dropped that because what happened for us was we had to end up buying some houses, but that wasn't the reason we dropped it. The problem was when the market got tight, the only people that called were the people that were upside down or in trouble, and we didn't get any high-end calls. So now we dropped it, or we'll buy it. Now we'll sell your house in 29 days, or you pay me nothing in commission.
Hey, buddy, I got basically a tip. So if you do have an individual site or something that is not like a portal type like Guaranteed Sale, you can get a URL that's memorable, free home values, Arizona or whatever.com. So you can do that on your spots, your mailings and stuff, and then redirect that to whatever the landing page is. So they'll go there, type it in, and then it'll redirect to whatever you've got. So that way you can put that on there, and they won't even know that it did that. They'll just go to the page and land.
Well, not only that, but it's awesome. It's awesome. We do that with all our postcard because it's awesome for tracking.
Sure.
2 more questions. What's your monthly ad budget? And this is from AJ and Abby. Hello. What's your monthly ad budget? How many closings will you have this year from those home value leads? Good way of looking at it.
Right now, unfortunately, we've gone through a mode, and I think I shared this with Jeff, that we've had a horrible buyer conversion year. And what happened was when I went to Remax and bought a Remax, I lost most of my good buyer agents to my own Remax, if you will. So, and I didn't, and I was too greedy and didn't raise the splits. But this year we're going to close, I would say 70%, this is a guesstimate, 70% of our general brokerage listings that we get come from, they originate through one of the home value sites. Now, It could be a postcard that ran them there. It could be a radio ad that ran it there. There's no way to do it, but that's how they initially come in. We're going to close probably about 210, 230 resales this year, listings. Our ad budget that we spend right now is we spend $1,800 a month on radio. Now, granted, keep in mind, I'm in Wilmington area, North Carolina. We only have 140,000 population, so we're a very small town. So if you're in, if you're in San Diego, radio is expensive. $1,800 a month in radio, and I use Matt Wagner for that. And then we spend about $1,000 a month in AdWords and Facebook. And the nice thing about it is you can turn it on and turn it off. Like what we do is we don't run because we know that our system, my team, falls apart on the weekends and at nights. We just don't respond well on weekends, okay? Either they're showing or they're off work, so I just literally gave up. So we don't even run any AdWords or any marketing, radio, or anything on the weekends because we can't respond well. So if we can't respond well, why run? Does that make sense?
Buddy, one last question. You got 1 minute. Do you send out farming postcards to people to drive them to free house values? What data do you use to target those postcards? And can you explain how that works?
When we're doing farming postcards, it depends. If it's a neighborhood, like if it's a beach, we use tax records, and it's more expensive because we can't use Every Door Direct because we're mailing to people that's out of town that owns the houses. I don't want to mail it to the renter. But normally, if there's an area, we use Every Door Direct, and we put the call to action on. Instead of just saying, hey, call me, which everybody does, we put the call to action, go to values.com, whatever that neighborhood is, like you said, by vanity, and then it's a call to action for them to do something other than look at a card and say, I'm not ready to sell, and they throw it away. Or at least they'll look at it and say, I wonder what this is. I wonder what the value is.
Okay, and you're giving us some examples of those postcards, is that correct?
I'm going to send you everything I got.
Well, I think everyone's looking forward
and
to
that. Every Door Direct is like 33 cents for the 6x11 cards, mailed, printed, and everything.
Nice.
By the post office. All right, Jeff, we'll have you wrap it up. I just want to say, everyone, buddy, let's connect after this. Give me that link. Everyone wants to have that link. I'll put it right in the comments here, right down here below on the page of all the Dropbox stuff, which is wonderful. We'll appreciate you sharing that.
And then we can put a link to it. I'll do a blog post on Real Geeks next week sometime. And maybe we put a link on the blog.
Let's put a time limit on that because obviously that's part of my value proposition to my system. Let's say that we'll leave it up through the end of December, okay?
Okay.
All right, sounds good.
All right, Jeff, wrap it up for everybody.
Yeah, I'd really like to thank Buddy for coming and joining us. It's been great, and we could probably go on for hours and hours of all different subjects, but really wanted to thank him. And wanted to thank everybody for all the positive feedback that Frank and I have been getting about these Keeping It Real Hangouts. I mean, it's been tremendous. I get emails all the time and Facebook messages, and we really appreciate the feedback because that makes it worth doing.
Let us know what you want to see. Like, put it right here in the comments. Let us know what's good, what we can change, how we can improve them. Let us know. If you have any suggestions for great guests, let us know as well. We're going to keep these going for a long time.
Yeah, so we're going to be doing it, and we're going to start back up. We're going to take a break. So this is the last one for the year. We're going to start back up on January 15th, Thursday, January 15th, and then we'll schedule 2 for February, and probably we're going to shoot for 2 a month. Pretty much every other Thursday, but 2 a month, depending on Frank and I's schedule and what we come up with. But we just want to thank everybody and wish you guys all happy holidays, be safe, and start planning and start working. You should already be working on your business plan, already have that worked out, but really take the time, with your time off, if you're taking time off, to really focus on what you need to do next year to make it the best year ever. So thanks a lot, guys.
Can I say one more thing?
Yes. Yeah, totally.
Take whatever your January and February ad budget is and spend every bit of it between now and middle of January on AdWords, on Jeff's sites or any seller valuation site that you've got. There's a lot of them because right now is when everybody's trying to decide who they're going to get to hire their houses. Hire to sell their house after
and
the
get
holiday.
your magical seller lead gen emails out to your
absolutely.
Pull every email you got, like out of your Facebook. You can get emails from your Gmail. Get the emails out of your buyer lead systems. Pull them all together and send them one simple, plain text, well-written email, which we'll write for you at Vyral. Up that whole list, drive that to your site, and you'll be pretty surprised how that works.
I got to tell you, I'm going to say this. It's going to sound horrible. That's just who I am. You'd be a fool not to take Frank up on this deal because it's free. And I know how expensive this crap is, this email stuff, and how hard it is to do.
Well, I want to give people a taste of what could potentially be in that list. So as long as I have the extra hours on staff labor, I could do it for now. So we'll see what happens. We got to wrap this thing up. So.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next year.